Welcome to this lecture 9, which is the last one in this group of videos. Today we are going to talk about past tense and present perfect, or just mostly we refer to her just as perfect tense. Generally, past tense is in the A1 level and present perfect is in the A2 level, but since reference is English, there's not so much big difference between those two, so I think it's best to just have them in one video. Here we're going to go through the various verb groups, then I'm going to explain when to use each one of these, and then a short text, and in the end, even if you're familiar with this, I would recommend you to watch the end of the video, where I will talk a little bit about some differences with some verbs from English to Norwegian. So if we look at the groups, generally it's good to just have the verb and then memorize how to conjugate it by verb by verb. There is some rule of thumb which I will mention here, which particularly because the two first groups I will mention here, with the first one here with the ET ending and the next one with the TE ending. It's the most common one, and it also could be the most difficult to remember which verb belongs to which group. So as a rule of thumb, if we take the vowels in Norwegian, which is A, E, I, O, U, I, A, Ø, Å. Generally, if you remove the I from the infinitive and you have left two consonants, then, here it is three consonants, but there is two consonant sound. It's more about the sound, not actually number of letters. Then we tend to have the ET ending, because it's kind of difficult to have a consonant and then the next letter is a T. So if you see how å jobbe, remove the I, you have two consonants. Å jobbe, jobber, jobbet, you have the ET ending. And then in perfect tense, you have the same verb tense as in past tense for this group. Å jobbet, har jobbet, have worked. Å åpne, remove the I, and then two consonants. Å åpne, to open, åpner, åpnet, har åpnet, again. All the verbs. This one is the same as this, so it's kind of easy to go from past tense to present perfect. Å ønske, to wish. Again, remove the I. Here you will also get three consonants. Å ønske, ønsker, ønsket. ET ending, har ønsket. Å handle, to shop. Particularly for food, it's used for this, but you can also use for other things. Å handle, handler, handlet. ET ending, har handlet. The next group, which has the TE ending. As I mentioned before, if it was you remove the E and you have two consonants, it tends to be ET ending. If you remove the E and you have one consonant, remember Ø, it's a vowel, so one consonant, and it's the consonant, or it's a consonant. Here you have two consonants, but it's kind of like one sound. Then you will have TE ending, usually. Rule of thumb with many exceptions. Å høre, hører, hørte. To hear, heard, heard. Have heard. You notice in the past perfect, there is no present perfect, sorry. In the perfect tense, there is no I. So you have the same. Here you just remove the I. Lærte, har lært, begynte, har begynt. Så. Å låne, låner, lånte. TI, har lånt, remove the I. To borrow. Å lære, to learn. Å lære, lærer, lærte. Har lært, have learned. Å begynne, begynner, begynte, har begynt, to begin. So to begin, begin, began, has begun. Yeah. Again, yeah. Just notice there's no E in the present perfect, or in the in this part of the verb. So we take the next one, the same. Here, as I said, the rule was kind of just rule of thumb. So if you go further here in the third group, which is not as common as the first two, here the rule is basically that if you remove the E, you're stuck with two vowels. But here it actually only this verb that actually follow the rule. The other one doesn't quite follow the rule. So it's an example that maybe it can be good to just memorize the verbs. But here you have the DE ending. Or bigge, bigger, bygde. As you remember with begynte, if it's a double consonant in the end, very often you can remove, one of them will be removed in the past tense. Bigge, bigger, bygde again. And then bygde, bygd, you remove the E. No E's in present perfect in regular verbs. Or eie, to own, eier, eide, har eid. Og grave, graver, gravde, har gravd. Og leve, leva, levde. To live, to be alive, live, har levd. In this group, fourth of the five, if you remove the if you include the irregular verbs, this group is the least common. It tends to be when it is when it says ends in a vowel. You see here the infinitive is also a bit different, and the tonation is on the vowel, like bo. So or bo, or to live, dwell, or bety, to mean, or dø, to die, or svi, to burn, like burn food, or bo, bor, bodde, har bodd, again here, you remove the E, or bety, betyr, betydde, har betydd, remove the E, or dø, dør, dødde, har dødd, og svi, svir, svidde, har svidd. Tonation on the E, double D and E. Okay, so if you take then, and then of course you have the irregular. Here is some irregular in the end of the lecture after the example tests. I will go through some other one that is kind of irregular in many ways. But if you take here, å finne, to find, å finne, finner, fant. Yeah, here it's irregular. That is when they are regular in present tense. So fant, har funnet, å gå, to go or to walk, å gå, går, gikk, har gått, å dra, drar, dro, har dratt, å drikke, drikker, drakk, har drukket. Yep. I can just mention, if you go in the dictionary, you will often find different options for the verb. For instance, here you could have said dradd, and this is also for all groups. So it makes it kind of difficult. So it's because some of them are much more common than other. So the best part is if you have a regular Norwegian book and then memorize the verbs from there. It's good to go from verb list also, but it's probably not the easiest. So just learn verbs as you go along in regular textbooks. I think that would be the best strategy. So when to use the tenses? Regular past tense is to be used when an action was made in the past and the action has finished. For example, jeg snakket med ham før jeg gikk på jobb. I talked with him before I went to work. Yeah, and of course this is follow the rules as in English. I dag jobbet jeg sent. Today I worked late. Yeah. So you have a time expression. You will use a past tense standard. Next one, same as in English. the perfect tense with the auxiliary verb. Har is generally used, as in English, when our focus is on that or what you have or have not done, and not when. So the focus is not when you did it, but that you have done it. Or haven't. Jeg har ikke sett filmen. I have not seen the movie. So it makes no sense to put a time expression when you haven't seen it. Han har besøkt Asia 2 ganger. He has visited Asia twice. So here you might be interested in seeing a movie. You haven't seen it. That's the point, not when. He has visited Asia twice. Often in this phrase it's not when he visited. It's just that the fact that he has the experience. That's the important thing. In Norwegian we use regular perfect tense, not without the verb to be, just when something started in the past but is still going on. For example, jeg lånte boken, I borrowed the book, not still going on. Jeg har lånt boken i 2 dager, I have borrowed the book for 2 days, still going on. I'm still borrowing the book. So if you remember the verb å bo, to live, dwell, like you're living a place. So if I say jeg har bodd i Brasil i 10 år. And I can say jeg bodde i Danmark i 5 år. Hvor bor jeg? Where am I currently living? Based on these phrases. The answer is of course Brazil. Bodde i Danmark i 5 år. Past tense, it's a verb action that happened in the past. Har bodd, started in the past, but still going on. So, we'll use this text as an example to show the grammar and also some vocabulary, but vocabulary you might get better from textbooks, but so. I går kjøpte Erik billetter til Paris. Han har aldri besøkt Paris, og han skal reise i ferien. Etter han kjøpte billettene, gikk han til en kafé. Han drakk en kopp kaffe og spiste et kakestykke. Etterpå kjørte han hjem til leiligheten. Han har bodd der i 3 år nå. Før det bodde han i et hus på landet. So, yesterday, Eric bought tickets to Paris. Time expression i går, so you use the past tense. He has never visited Paris. It's not, something he never done. It's very often the perfect tense. Og han skal reise i ferien, he's going to travel in vacation, is future tense. After he bought the tickets, he went for a cafe. So, it's all in past tense. This you could have used the past perfect also after he had bought the ticket, but that would be later grammar, but that would also follow the same pattern with verbs as in English. So, but here, after he bought the tickets, he went to a cafe. Han drakk en kopp kaffe og spiste et kakestykke. He drank a cup of coffee and ate a piece of cake. So, this is past tense. It's referring to the time when he was in a cafe. Etterpå kjørte han hjem til leiligheten. Afterwards, he drove home to the apartment. There's time expression, some verb inversion, but then it's also past tense. It's in a time of when he did something. Han har bodd der i 3 år nå. He has lived there for 3 years now. Now it's kind of a hint that it's still going on, so then you have to use perfect tense. Han bodde der i 3 år nå with past tense there. Because you have the no, it wouldn't make much sense to use past tense. He has lived there for 3 years and it's still going on. Før det bodde han i et hus på landet. Before that, he lived in a house in the countryside. Past tense, not still going on. Yeah. Might have mentioned before, på landet, it's in the countryside, or is opposed to I landet would be in the country as for example in Norway. Be aware of these prepositions here. Okay, the next. Han har ikke hatt ferie tidligere i år. Han må gjøre mange ting før han reiser. Han har betalt alle regningene. I går vasket han huset og kjøpte bagasje for reisen. Han snakket også med familien. He hasn't had vacation earlier this year, so perfect tense, particularly when it's something you've never done. He has to do many things before he goes, that's future. Yeah. He has paid all the bills. Yeah, it's not so interesting when he did it. It's the fact that he has done it that's interesting. Has paid. I går, time expression, he washed the house and bought luggage for the trip or the traveling. Han snakket også med familien. He also spoke with the family. So this could be yesterday, it could not necessarily be yesterday. So here, sometimes you can use both. It wouldn't be wrong to say han har også snakket med familien, but it would be, since it's context now in relation to his vacation, it's better with past tense. Okay. The last part. I forrige ferie reiste han rundt i Norge, og den siste uken var det veldig kaldt og dårlig vær. Derfor bestemte han seg for å reise lenger sør i år. Last vacation, he traveled around in Norway. Forrige would be when you have last as previous. Og den siste uken var det veldig kaldt og dårlig vær. And the last week was it very cold and bad weather. Siste would be the last one. So this is the last week of several weeks. Or maybe probably just 2, but in the last of the weeks at that time. So it's not previous week, not 1 week ago, but the last week of this vacation. Forrige is the previous. So forrige uke, it's 7 days ago or in that week. Therefore, he decided to go further south this year. Therefore, he decided to go, og bestemme seg for. Å bestemme is to decide, but when you have make up your mind, you tend to have decide yourself to do something. You have to use the reflexive in Norwegian, and it usually goes together with for. Okay, so then in the end, just some special verbs. Å være, of course, it's also irregular in present tense, so I didn't mention in the irregular verbs, but of course it's so common, you have to remember this. Å være, to be. Å være var, har vært. The same with å gjøre. Å gjøre, gjør, gjorde, har gjort. And then 2 verbs that's slightly, I've experienced people have a lot of problem with, or not problem, they understand, but they keep forgetting it. Å måtte is to have to. Å måtte, må, måtte, har måttet. Måtte, it's equals to had to. So you cannot say jeg hadde or hadde, it's the past tense of to have. You cannot use that in Norway. If you had, I had to talk to him. Jeg måtte snakke med ham. Yeah. The second one, og burde, bør, burde, har byrdet. Of course this conjugation exists, but it's not something you will encounter much. Og burde, it should or ought to. Ought to, it's best to think of conjugation. So I ought to talk to him. Jeg bør snakke med ham. Men burde, I should have. So I should have gone to the dentist. You would not use the verb skal. You will have to use burde. Jeg burde snakket. Should have talked to him yesterday. Med ham I går. You burde. Or regular thing, I should learn a new language. It's same also, you just use the past tense, but just use this verb, not skulle. So skulle if you had a plan. Jeg skulle lære et nytt språk. That would, I had a plan previous to learn a new language, but then I got lost interest or something. So it has a different meaning in Norwegian. I should learn, like you think you ought to, you have to use burde. Jeg burde lære et nytt språk. Okay, yeah. Then this is basically then the end of this lecture 9 and this all of these lectures. I hope it helped you in your studying. As I have mentioned before, NorwegianClasses.com, you will be able to find some PDFs and you can help in your training. Unfortunately, I will not answer much questions or anything under in these YouTube videos because this is basically just a free project. I don't generally check YouTube so much. So hopefully these were helpful for you, and good luck with your further studying.